Jinwoo had activated the mutilation skill, unleashing a relentless barrage of slashes that tore through the Ant King, bringing him down in an instant. With their king defeated, the ant monsters scattered in disarray, fleeing the nest in complete chaos. The hunters exhaled a collective sigh of relief, believing the raid was finally over. But their relief was short-lived. Hunter Cha was still in critical condition. Jinwoo rushed to her side, his heart pounding, and quickly realized that they were running out of time. Desperately, he pulled out the holy water of life, hoping that the potion would heal her. But then, a system notification appeared, informing him that the drug was ineffective for her condition. Frustration crashed over Jinwoo like a tidal wave. The potion was useless, and Shadow Exchange was still on cooldown. His mind raced, frantically searching for another way to save Hunter Cha. Suddenly, a thought struck him. Jinwoo turned to the cameraman and quietly asked him to cut the live feed for a moment. At first, the cameraman hesitated. It was a live broadcast, after all. But something in Jinwoo's tone made him pause. Jinwoo then commanded his shadow warriors to search for Hunter Min-Byung-Gu's body. It didn't take long. One of the High Orc shadow generals returned, carrying Min-Byung-Gu's lifeless form. Jinwoo's eyes scanned the body, and his expression darkened as he noticed the Ant King had likely devoured the head. Doubt gnawed at him. Will this even work? But just then, a notification popped up. Shadow extraction can be used on this target. Yunho, clearly confused, asked Jinwoo what he was doing with Byung-Gu's body, but Jinwoo ignored him, stepping closer to the corpse. He uttered a single word, "Arise." A dark shadow began to creep out of Min-Byung-Gu's body. But then, a system notification interrupted. You failed to extract the shadow. Jinwoo frowned and tried again. Same result. It didn't make sense. With his summoning skill at this level, it should have worked easily. Yet, it felt as if Min-Byung-Gu's spirit was resisting, refusing to be summoned. Jinwoo hesitated for a moment. He knew this looked demonic, like something evil trying to summon the dead, but someone's life was on the line. He had to save Hunter Cha. Gritting his teeth, he tried once more. "Arise!" This time, the corpse reacted. A dense, black shadow enveloped Min-Byung-Gu's body. Yunho shouted angrily, demanding an explanation for what Jinwoo was doing to Byung-Gu's remains. But his anger quickly turned to shock as Byung-Gu's body began to rise. Min-Byung-Gu had become a shadow warrior. The other hunters froze, stunned, and a little terrified by the sheer power that defied all logic. Without any orders, Shadow Min-Byung-Gu moved toward Hunter Cha. Calmly, he activated his healing magic, saving her life, just as she teetered on the edge of death. Yunho watched the scene unfold, pure disbelief etched across his face. Jinwoo, noticing Yunho's expression, spoke softly. "I can sense a person's nature when they're alive." For Byung-Gu, his healer instincts remained so strong that he acted on his own, without commands. The cameraman stood in shock, unable to process what he had just witnessed. Now, he understood why Jinwoo had asked him to turn the camera off. A power like this, raising the dead, it couldn't be broadcasted to the entire world. Yunho placed a hand on Jinwoo's shoulder, his voice calm yet firm. He admitted that Jinwoo would do incredible things in the future. He believed Byung-Gu's power would help them in the battles ahead. But he asked, "Don't force Byung-Gu into unnecessary fights." Jinwoo brushed Yunho's hand off, reminding him that this was the second time Yunho had touched his shoulder. But then, after a brief pause, a small smile crept onto Jinwoo's face. This time, Jinwoo felt that Yunho's gesture wasn't about authority or orders, it was a sincere request. Walking toward Shadow Byung, Jinwoo nodded in agreement. "Cancel extraction." Slowly, Shadow Min-Byung-Gu began to fade, his form dissolving back into the afterlife. Before disappearing completely, he cast a final smile toward Yunho. Yunho stood still, returning the smile with deep respect. It was hard, but he knew this was the right decision. The silence that followed was heavy, leaving the hunters with mixed emotions as they watched one of their heroes leave for the final time. Meanwhile, the helicopter had arrived at Jeju Island, ready to pick up the hunters. Through the heavy rain, the hunters trudged toward the helicopter, sadness clearly etched on their faces. Once everyone was inside, Jinwoo turned to Yunho and quietly told him to leave first. There was still something he needed to take care of. From a distance, the remaining swarm of ant monsters could be seen, flying ominously over Jeju Island. Without hesitation, Jinwoo summoned Kaisel and quickly leapt onto the dragon's back. He had made up his mind. He would clear the path and wipe out the remaining monsters scattered around the island. Kaisel spread his wings, soaring high into the stormy sky with Jinwoo. As they flew, Jinwoo relentlessly eliminated the remaining ant monsters, ensuring that the hunters could leave the island safely. Meanwhile, aboard the Japanese warship, where the Japanese team had gathered, Hoshino was still visibly shaken. The other Japanese hunters approached him, their eyes filled with concern, eager to know what had happened. Hoshino, trembling, muttered under his breath, "That monster, it wasn't an ordinary enemy. Even Goto Ryuji couldn't stand a chance against it. There wasn't a single hunter who could defeat something like that." The weight of his words hung in the air. Sugimoto stepped in, trying to calm Hoshino. "It's over now. The raid on Jeju Island is over." Hoshino's eyes widened in disbelief. "Impossible," he whispered. It sounded unreal. Sugimoto then recalled Ryuji's words, mentioning a powerful hunter from Korea. Could it be? Was Sung Jin-Woo the one who had defeated that monstrous enemy? Suddenly, a crew member rushed in, his voice laced with urgency. "A swarm of ants has been detected near the ship." The hunters were immediately ordered to prepare for battle. Meanwhile, Ju returned to the ant nest to clean up the remaining monsters. His shadow mages unleashed powerful fire magic, instantly burning the unhatched ant eggs scattered throughout the nest. Jinwoo felt both surprised and lucky. Even by destroying unhatched eggs, he was still gaining extra experience points. Opening his inventory, he retrieved the Demon King's longsword, an incredible weapon he had acquired from the Demon King. With the sword in hand, Jinwoo decided to give it a try. His first swing, a crackling bolt of lightning surged from the blade, shaking the ground beneath him. Amazed by the sword's power, he thought it would be a waste to let it sit idle in his inventory. Determined, Jinwoo decided to use the sword to clear out the remaining ant eggs in the nest. The scene shifted to the United States, where Michael Corner and David Brennan, the director of the American Hunter Bureau, were watching a replay of the Jeju Island raid. Michael commented, his tone filled with awe. "It's extraordinary for a hunter to control hundreds of creatures like that. But then," he sighed, "such a shame. He comes from such a small country like Korea." David, however, stared intently at the screen, his mind racing. "Michael," he said sharply, "what else do you know about this hunter?" Michael handed him a file, his expression serious. "There's something else," Michael began. The fire incident involving Sung Il-won was connected to Jinwoo. Sung Il-won had been found alive inside an A-ranked dungeon. Although he claimed to be a Korean hunter, doubts lingered. Was he truly human or a monster? Further investigation had revealed an even more shocking truth. Jinwoo was his son. David's eyes widened, his face betraying his shock. "Unbelievable," he murmured. He realized this was a rare opportunity. To recruit someone like Jinwoo, even if it risked straining relations between the US and Korea, especially after America had successfully recruited Dong-soo, Jinwoo was worth fighting for. A hunter like him was a game changer. No matter the cost. David's tone was firm, his resolve clear. He then turned to Michael. "Are you capable of handling this task?" Back on Jeju Island. After eliminating the remaining ant monsters, Jinwoo had finally reached level 100. He approached the corpse of the Ant King, his mind set on one thing: arise. Suddenly a dark aura surrounded him. Jinwoo's expression shifted. Something felt off. Is this a failed shadow extraction, he wondered, but as the darkness faded, Jinwoo's lips curled into a satisfied smile. The Ant King had been successfully extracted, and now it was a ranked general shadow. The shadow knelt before him, its presence exuding strength, but then it spoke. "I want a name." Jinwoo was stunned. "How can you talk?" The ant explained that it had retained the ability to speak even before its death. Jinwoo's mind raced. Byung-Gu, Iron, Tusk. None of them had been able to speak after becoming shadows. Could it be? Did general-level shadows have the potential to regain speech? Jinwoo then asked, his voice steady. "Will you still follow my orders, even though I was the one who killed you?" The ant's response was immediate. "I'm not dead. You brought me back to life with your power, and I will always obey your commands." Jinwoo fell silent for a moment, deep in thought. Then, a name came to mind. Inspired by the author of a famous novel, Jinwoo bestowed the name upon his new shadow. Afterward, Jinwoo turned to the Ant Queen's corpse, determination in his eyes. "Arise." Slowly, black shadows began to seep from the Ant Queen's body. Another ranked general, but then control over the shadow ant soldiers had shifted to the Ant Queen. Jinwoo's eyes widened in surprise. He turned to Beru. "What's going on?" Beru bowed slightly and explained. The Ant Queen's primary ability is reproduction and controlling the entire ant colony. Jinwoo's expression darkened. So that means, yes, my liege. Beru's tone was firm. All the shadow ants now fall under her command. Jinwoo frowned. 2 heads in his organization? Unacceptable. Without hesitation, Jinwoo made a quick decision. Cancel the Ant Queen's shadow extraction. Meanwhile, the Shadow Knights continued their relentless task, tirelessly gathering magic crystals. Jinwoo raised his hand, stopping them. That's enough. He explained that the crystals would be used to rebuild Jeju Island. But, as a reward for his contribution to the raid, Jinwoo only took Beru's magic core, a gesture of generosity that matched his immense power. Jinwoo then turned to Beru. How many ants are left? Beru, ever vigilant, gave his report. Before the raid, the ant colony had around 8,700 ants. And now? Only 4,000 remain, my liege. Jinwoo sighed deeply. There's still a lot of work to do. His gaze hardened. Looking directly at Beru, he gave his next command. Wipe out the remaining ants. Beru's posture straightened as he bowed respectfully. As you command, my liege. I will carry out your orders without hesitation. At the ocean defense line, hunters were locked in an all-out battle against relentless swarms of flying ants. Worship cannons roared, firing relentlessly, while mage hunters unleashed long-range attacks, desperately trying to bring down the ants in the sky. Hunters from the White Tiger Guild prepared to launch their next assault, followed closely by those from the Fame Guild and Reapers Guild, who also joined the fray. Amid the chaos, Lee Min-Sung stood frozen, paralyzed with fear. Despite being a rank A hunter, his terrified expression drew nothing but scorn from a passing hunter. Useless, the hunter muttered with disdain as he rushed past. Closer to the shoreline, retired hunters stood ready, bracing themselves to stop any ants that might breach the defense and reach the city. They stood anxiously, their eyes fixed on the approaching swarm. The ants were closing in. But just as the ants were about to strike, they were obliterated. It happened so fast, Juhi and Mr. Song didn't even see what took place. A blur of motion. Moving at incredible speed, Beru tore through the flying ants, cutting them down with flawless precision. In mere moments, the threat was gone. The Jeju Island raid was finally over. It had taken 2 days to clear out the ant colony that had invaded Korea. Most of the ants had been eradicated, but some had managed to escape, flying into the Sea of China. A national-level hunter stood tall. His eyes scanned the sky, locking onto the scattered remnants of the ant swarm. Calmly, he sized up his many enemies. Then, he drew his 2 swords, releasing a surge of magical energy that enveloped his entire body. With a swift slash, he unleashed an attack that wiped out dozens of ants in an instant. Their lifeless bodies fell, plummeting into the sea below. The hunter sheathed his swords, a flicker of disappointment crossing his face. If the ants that Jinwoo defeated were still alive, he thought to himself, this fight might have been more interesting. Meanwhile, a man watched the battle between Jinwoo and the Ant King closely. His assistant, Laura, stood beside him, her tone cautious. Sir, there's something you should know. She explained that Jinwoo might soon have a problem with Hwang Dong-soo. There are rumors that Jinwoo was behind the death of Dong-soo's older brother. The man's gaze hardened. Thomas Andre, a national-level hunter, master of the Scavenger Guild in America. If those rumors were true, a feud between Dong-soo and Jinwoo was inevitable, and that would make it even harder for Thomas to recruit a talent like Jinwoo. Laura's voice broke the silence. What will you do if a conflict breaks out between Dong-soo and Jinwoo? Thomas didn't hesitate, his eyes sharpened. To him, Hwang Dong-soo wasn't just a hunter. He's part of the Scavenger Guild, and the Scavenger Guild is mine. No one, not even the government, can touch what belongs to me. Later that night, on Jeju Island, the hunters from the Knights Guild were making their rounds. They patrolled the area, collecting magic stones and ensuring the island was safe. As they passed by an ant nest, Jong-soo started talking about his past. My life has been pretty tragic, but to his junior, it sounded ridiculous. While they were busy gathering crystals, a sudden chill filled the air. Out of nowhere, a monster ant appeared. Jong-soo reacted instantly, with lightning speed. He decapitated the ant in one swift motion. Don't worry. His voice was calm, reassuring the mining team. I've got this. If more ants showed up, he'd take care of them. But their peace was shattered by a mysterious figure who appeared out of nowhere, walking toward them. Jiangsu immediately warned the others that the figure had entered a restricted area and demanded to know who they were. The hunters grew tense, their nerves on edge, wondering if the figure was human. They prepared to act, but the figure glared at them, speaking in an unintelligible language. Jiangsu quickly realized it wasn't human. It was a monster. Suddenly, someone snapped their fingers, and an awful aura spread across the area, causing all the hunters to faint in an instant. At the same time, another terrifying figure emerged behind the monster. The two figures were none other than the Beast Monarch and the Frost Monarch. Frost Monarch, with a cold smirk, explained that he had merely put them to sleep for a bit to avoid unnecessary chaos. He sensed remnants of monarch power lingering in the area and was perplexed as to why the creature was aiding humanity. Beast Monarch, amused, replied that if Frost Monarch was so curious, he could simply ask the creature itself. However, Frost Monarch ignored him and, with a snap of his fingers, opened a dimensional portal. He declared that the hunt for the creature would continue as planned, but first he needed to deal with another creature that was likely still nearby. Beast Monarch taunted him, realizing that Frost Monarch was hesitant to get involved. Frost Monarch, unbothered, admitted it and calmly stepped into the portal, vanishing. Beast Monarch, having the same thought, decided there was no need to stir up unnecessary trouble. With a swipe of his claws, he opened his own dimensional gate and followed after. Behind the success of the raid on Jeju Island, there was a deep sorrow felt by both the hunters and the people of Korea. The nation was mourning, holding a funeral for the fallen victims. In the fifth raid on Jeju Island, a total of 4,801 hunters participated. Among them, 64 hunters and 32 civilians lost their lives. Though the incident claimed many victims, the numbers were still lower than those of the previous 4 raids. Amid the crowd, Jinwoo attended the ceremony, placing a single flower for the victims. Sung Jin-Woo had become the hottest topic in the media, sparking heated debate among the public. Some praised and supported him for his extraordinary abilities, especially after he single-handedly took down an S-ranked gate. Netizens speculated that his status might now be on par with national-level hunters. But not everyone was on his side. Others criticized and questioned his actions, arguing that if Jinwoo had joined the raid from the beginning, Hunter Min-Byung-Gu might still be alive. At the event, Yoonho and Jinwoo crossed paths. Yoonho, with a heavy heart, said he once believed that only if hunters worked together could the war be brought to an end. But he was wrong. Jinwoo had done it alone. Yoonho, his voice filled with gratitude and sorrow, asked Jinwoo to hold his head high because it was Jinwoo who had brought an end to this tragic tale. Tears welled up in Yoonho's eyes as he thanked him sincerely. At that moment, Jinwoo and Hunter Cha exchanged glances, but she quickly turned away. Her face flushed. Jinwoo was left confused by her strange behavior. After the funeral, Jinwoo met with Mr. Go Gun-hee, the chairman of the Korean Hunters Association. During their conversation, Jinwoo revealed his intention to form his own guild. Mr. Go responded warmly, assuring Jinwoo that the association would handle all the necessary arrangements. However, Mr. Go then asked if Jinwoo had placed any barriers on Jeju Island, because strange things had happened. Hunters from Guild Knights had suddenly fallen unconscious after entering the ant nest to collect magic crystals. This revelation caught Jinwoo completely off guard. He replied that he hadn't done anything like that, then asked what the hunters had said after waking up. Mr. Go explained that they couldn't remember anything after regaining consciousness. Jinwoo wondered silently, were there still traps left by the ants? Soon after, an association staff member arrived to report that someone was requesting a meeting with Mr. Go. Mr. Go excused himself and Jinwoo prepared to head home. In the parking lot, just before Jinwoo could get into his car, a strange man approached him. The man introduced himself as Adam White, a senior agent from the United States Bureau of Hunters, and handed Jinwoo a business card. Jinwoo immediately recalled hearing about an outsider from Jinho and wasted no time asking what Adam wanted. Adam explained that he had important information that no country or institution would dare to share. It was something that could benefit both sides. He also mentioned that they were deeply impressed by Jinwoo's fight on Jeju Island. However, Adam refused to discuss the matter there. Instead, he offered Jinwoo a meeting with their deputy director for more details. Jinwoo hesitated, but chose to ignore the offer and get into his car. But just as he was about to leave, Adam mentioned something about an upgrader. someone capable of enhancing the powers of other hunters. This piqued Jinwoo's interest, and he decided to follow Adam. Adam led Jinwoo to a hotel, where the deputy director of the American Hunter Association was waiting. The man introduced himself as Michael Connor, and without wasting any time, he got straight to the point. He handed Jinwoo immigration papers to the US, offering him the chance to become a US citizen. Jinwoo's expression darkened, annoyed by the sudden change in topic. He firmly reminded Michael that he was there for information, not citizenship. Michael, with a knowing smile, assured Jinwoo that the person with the ability he was looking for was already here. He gestured to his assistant, and soon, a woman named Norma Selnner was introduced. She was the only person in the world capable of enhancing a hunter's power beyond their limits. Jinwoo looked at her carefully, sensing something different about her compared to other hunters. Michael asked her to explain her ability to Jinwoo. Miss Selnner, with a calm yet authoritative tone, began to explain that although it might be hard to believe, her ability allowed a hunter to surpass their power limits. She went on to describe that this enhancement happened in 3 stages, similar to a forced reawakening process. Jinwoo, curious, asked how much of an increase could be achieved. Calmly, Miss Selnner replied that the results varied, but by the time someone reached the 3rd stage, the power boost could range from 20% to 30%. In his mind, Jinwoo began to connect her explanation to what had happened with Hunter Hwang Dong-soo. Could this offer be the reason Hwang Dong-soo moved to America? Such power would be hard to refuse. Michael, with a serious tone, stated that Miss Selnner's ability was a special gift for Jinwoo. If he agreed to become an American hunter, they would prioritize him in receiving this benefit and even allow him the freedom to choose any guild he desired. Miss Selnner, with a gentle smile, added that there was no rush. They simply wanted to help Jinwoo unlock his 1st stage of potential, asking him to consider it as a gift from them. Jinwoo, intrigued, thought that if this woman was so confident in her ability, it only made him more curious. Miss Selnner then took Jinwoo's hand and softly asked him to look into her eyes. Meanwhile, Michael silently thought to himself, this was the perfect opportunity. In his mind, once Jinwoo experienced the 1st stage of power increase, he would undoubtedly crave more, and eventually sign the immigration papers. Miss Selnner began to focus, activating her power. In an instant, she entered Jinwoo's consciousness, delving deep into his soul to unlock his power limits. But the deeper she went, the denser the darkness became, an endless emptiness. And in the middle of that void, a mysterious figure appeared, staring at her with an intense, piercing gaze. Miss Selnner screamed in terror, as if trying to escape from something unseen. Her guards immediately raised their guns, aiming at Jinwoo, assuming there was a real threat before them. Michael, realizing the situation, scolded his men, ordering them to stop and criticizing their ignorance for nearly causing a disaster. He warned them that if this had happened in front of Thomas Andre or Liu Jigang, everyone in the room would be dead on the spot. Michael then bowed deeply, apologizing to Jinwoo for the incident. He ordered his men to take care of Miss Selnner, who was still visibly shaken. Meanwhile, Jinwoo stood there, confused, trying to understand what had happened to Miss Selnner. Michael assured Jinwoo that Miss Selnner was unwell and promised to contact him another time. He then called Adam to escort Jinwoo back home. After Jinwoo left, Michael turned to Miss Selnner, his voice low and concerned. What just happened? Trembling, Miss Selnner finally spoke. Jinwoo is like a king, a force unlike anything I've ever witnessed before. Michael, stunned, tried to confirm her words. Are you saying his power is comparable to a national-level hunter? But Miss Selnner shook her head slightly, her expression filled with unease. No, that comparison doesn't do him justice. To her, Jinwoo's power was something entirely different, something beyond ordinary comprehension. The figure she saw wasn't just Hunter Sung Jin-Woo. It was something darker, deeper, and far more terrifying. She concluded that Jinwoo's power had no limits. Michael fell silent, reflecting on her words, while Jinwoo left the place with a calm face, but his mind was full of questions. The scene cuts to the Korean Hunter Association office, where Mr. Go is deep in thought, recalling Hunter Min-Byung-Gu's sacrifice during the raid on Jeju Island. He feels the weight of that loss, and he knows that the challenges ahead won't be solved with just one sacrifice. But his thoughts are interrupted when his phone rings. Mr. Go answers and receives a report about a B-rank gate that has appeared in the middle of a highway. He considers reaching out to a major guild, but then he remembers The gate is near Hunter Sung Jin-Woo's new guild office. Meanwhile, Jinwoo is stuck in traffic, thinking about his last encounter with Miss Selnner. Her terrified look lingers in his mind, reminding him of something tied to the system. He figures that after that encounter, Miss Selnner probably wouldn't want to meet with him again. Suddenly, Mr. Go calls, informing Jinwoo about the situation with the gate. He asks Jinwoo to check it out and handle the dungeon if possible. Jinwoo, noticing the heavy traffic, smirks slightly, figuring that the jam is caused by the gate. With a faint smile, he agrees, especially after Mr. Go assures him that he has full authority to act. A huge gate suddenly appears in the middle of the highway. Jinwoo arrives at the scene shortly after. Drivers stuck in traffic are stunned to see him. Some recognize him as the famous S-rank hunter, and they know he's here to handle the situation. However, an association officer steps in and blocks his path, firmly stating that Jinwoo cannot enter without permission. Jinwoo's frustration grows. Without hesitation, he calls Mr. Go. After a brief conversation, Jinwoo hands his phone to the officer. The officer's attitude changes instantly when he realizes that the association chairman is on the line. Jinwoo strolls into the gate confidently, while the officer mutters under his breath, hoping Jinwoo will run into trouble. But those hopes quickly turn into fear, as the gate suddenly transforms into a red gate. The officer, wide-eyed and trembling, can't believe what he's seeing. Inside the dungeon, Jinwoo was surprised to find that the exit was closed. He guessed that he must have entered a red gate and realized he'd overdone it. Suddenly, he remembered his mom's words. "Do what you want, Jinwoo." As an S-rank hunter, Jinwoo knew he could save people, just like his father once did. His dad was a firefighter before he became a hunter, and his mom had fallen in love with him because of his passion for saving lives. She also told Jinwoo, "Don't overdo it." These memories brought Jinwoo a sense of relief, knowing that his mom was not against him becoming a hunter. Jinwoo sensed that if there weren't too many monsters in this dungeon, he could clear it in one day. Go forth! Jinwoo summoned his shadow warriors. Giant forest guardian monsters began emerging from their hiding spots, triggering a fierce battle. The shadow mage unleashed fire magic from a distance. Igris stabbed a monster right in the head with his sword. Iron went wild, smashing monsters with his axe, while Tusk and Tank scorched the monsters with their fire magic. And then, Beru went on a rampage, brutally tearing through monsters with terrifying ease. After clearing the area of monsters, Jinwoo paused. His thoughts lingered for a moment. A hunter is born to hunt, but monsters aren't the only enemy for a hunter. Hunters have to be careful, so they don't become the hunted. First-rate hunters can never let their guard down. Even after hundreds, thousands of hunts, the hunt never ends. Let's move on to the next target. With that resolve, Jinwoo stepped forward, his determination unshaken as he moved to confront the dungeon boss.